Hey, welcome back to the Astrology of Things. I'm your host and certified astrologer Sheena, and today is March 25th, 2023, and it's 4:21 p.m. And today I wanted to shed some light on additional significations to the seventh house. So we often look to the seventh house to understand our intimate, committed relationships, such as marriage. But there is much more to this house, and I wanted to look at this house through the lens of our employer or the company that we work for. So let's get into it. So, the seventh house represents your employer and the company that you work for. This is because the seventh house deals with any committed relationships that we have. In general, commitments are engagements between yourself and other people, parties, and or entities where you all set certain expectations, promises, or agreements that are required for you to continue that deal, contract, or relationship that you have with one another. Therefore, we are all technically in a relationship with our company because we agreed in contract or under the table to provide our skills and services, time and energy in exchange for payment. This is a business deal between yourself as a sole proprietor and citizen and the business, whether that is another sole proprietor or a limited liability company or corporation. So look to the seventh house to understand the shared themes amongst the type of companies that you've worked for throughout your life. And if you get really good at astrology, you can even gather more information through the seventh house and get insight into like the company's name and how the company identifies itself visually through branding, for example. And further, knowing the seventh house is the first house for the company that you work for, you can find out even more information about the company if you understand the concept of derived houses. But I'll have to save that derived houses part for a different episode. So I want to encourage you all to take a look at your natal chart and get acquainted with your seventh house, its ruler, and the ruler's dispositors. Also, take a look at the house that the ruler is placed in. Take a look at what planets are placed in the seventh house. Look at what aspects are being made to the seventh house ruler, as well as take a look at the transits going through that seventh house and look at transits that are impacting the seventh house ruler. So do some self-reflection and take an assessment of the companies that you've worked for in the past. Try to recall significant dates related to when you started working at new companies. What kind of companies were they, and how do they relate to the qualities and characteristics of your seventh house? What transits were occurring when you started those jobs? And did you notice any correlations or relationships with the seventh house ruler or planets posited in that seventh house? So, here is a quick overview of what your seventh house ruler could mean in relation to the type of company that you've worked for, that you work for now, or that you will work for in the future. Now, I want to note that this is a very general assessment, and remember that the company you work for is different from the actual job that you do there. So think of the company as the umbrella under which you do your work. Also, always remember that you have to look at your specific natal chart to understand the nuances and relevancy to your personal life, because there are various house placements, aspects, and dignity and abilities that we need to take into consideration when analyzing your natal chart and your natal seventh house. All right, so let's take a look at your seventh house cusp and what this could mean if it's in your natal chart. So Aries on the seventh house cusp. This means that you could work for yourself as a sole proprietor or work for an independent, new, pioneering, or idea generating company. So think of this as you working for a company that is a startup and brand new. Or this could even be a company that involves adventure and spontaneity. So think of Six Flags Great Adventures. If you have Taurus on the seventh house cusp, you could work for a company that manages sacred and natural resources. And it could be a company that deals with farming or food, or it could even involve investment companies. If Gemini is on your seventh house cusp, the company could be in the business of marketing, commerce, or communications, such as a local newspaper or an advertising agency. Think of a company like Verizon, for example. If you have Cancer on the seventh house cusp, this means you work for companies that are focused on insecurities, nurturing, or care. So this could translate into a company that's focused on childcare, babies, or motherhood. And so think of a company such as your local daycare or a labor and delivery education company. If Leo is on your seventh house cusp, this could mean you tend to work for companies that are performance or entertainment companies. So think of a company like Broadway, or think of Broadway and the type of company that owns Broadway. I'm not sure if that's the actual company. If Virgo is on your seventh house cusp, this could mean you work for companies that are in manufacturing, construction, and production. So companies that tend to make products, goods, and or deliver services. This could also involve companies in the pharmaceuticals, so selling medication or making medication. If you have Libra on the seventh house cusp, this means you work for companies that are focused on balance and harmony. So this could be companies that are in the industry of aesthetics, such as the beauty or design industries, or this could translate into a company that deals with mediations and negotiations. If Scorpio is on the seventh house cusp, this could mean you work for companies that are athletic, like very physically involved, or companies that deal with mechanics or engineering and machinery. This could also mean you work for companies that focus around sex, anger, competition, or fighting. If Sagittarius is on the seventh house cusp, this could mean you work for companies that deal with mass distribution, publications, and mass media. This could even be a company that reaches different cultures, or a company that focuses on higher education, philosophy, religion, or a company that even focuses on traveling. So think of a company like Harpo Productions. If Capricorn's on the 7th house cusp, this could mean you work for companies that are very traditional and that have a lot of rules and regulations, either within the workplace or, involved in the work that the company does. This could also be a company that deals with bones, hair, and or skin. This company could be very, very corporate and professional as well, and a part of government and the economy. If Aquarius is on the 7th house, this could mean that you tend to work for companies that are unique or unconventional in some way. It could be a virtual company, or the company you work for tends to change a lot, either unexpectedly or let's say maybe you unexpectedly quit jobs or quit the companies that you work for, or you get fired from them. And the company could also deal with creating networks between different communities and connecting large masses of data together. So think of a company like ChatGPT. And finally, if Pisces is on the 7th house cusp, this could mean you work for companies that are of a slower paced environment. It tends to be more relaxed or focused on a more relaxed and healing concept or an idea. This could be a company that creates fantasies, or a company that focuses on recreational or psychedelic drugs. And it could even be a healing and spiritual company. So think of a company like BetterHelp, for example. All right, so I hope that gave you some insight into another way and another perspective through which you can see the 7th house. All right, so until next time, I'll see you back soon.